So who are you? What's your role and where do you work?
Hi, I'm Yasmin. I am the COO at CloudBolt, and technically I work from my house, I guess, so because we're all remote.
And Yasmin, what news would you like to share with our community today?
So last week we announced a new survey that we ran, and it was over 300 people took the survey, and it's really about trusting automation inside your environment and kind of the differences of what people are comfortable trusting, what they're not comfortable trusting with the rise of new AI tools too. What does that do to trust and automation? So the results are really interesting.
And just for folks that maybe want some background on that, you mentioned the aspect of trust. Digging into this topic, CloudBolt has decided to go all in, interviewing 300 people about this. Why do this survey and not another one?
Yeah, so we have a right sizing solution, and inherently, every time that someone goes to look at either a server, a workload, really anything that you would right size, maybe it's anything in your infrastructure, there's this inherent like, okay, what's going to happen when it goes wrong? And automation, I mean, is just a given these days. Even in the survey, I think like 89% said automation is mission critical. I imagine the last 11% still thought it was pretty important, but I think we've all kind of accepted that automation is important. But when it comes to right sizing and kind of being in a scenario where you could reduce something, that same trust you have in maybe deploying a new workload, deploying a change to production is very different when it comes to right sizing. And so we've worked with a lot of companies in building that trust. And so we wanted to go a little deeper and understand what are the things that hold people back? What are people like? What's the confidence levers there?
And in terms of, you shared some of the findings, but in terms of, things that at a high level people should keep in mind if they want to go take a look at the survey more in detail, what were some of the conclusions that you got?
So I was surprised over 70% of people still require human review for resource optimization. And if you think about it, you like most environments, even a small environment might be a couple clusters, but you're running 100, 1,000 workloads on those clusters. We work with some very large customers that have hundreds of clusters with like tens of thousands of workloads in those. But the interesting thing is in the survey, almost 70% of people said that any sort of manual optimization breaks before you get to 250 changes a day. So imagine if you have 250 workloads, like you're talking one cluster, you can maybe do manual. Outside of that, you can't. So it's like kind of eye-opening that still over 70% of people require human reviews for this.
In addition to that, you did get some direct quotes from people that you interviewed. I know there was one about outages from a platform engineer. Could you shed some light on that?
Yeah, there was one that really stood out to me. There's a platform engineer that said, look, if an application team has made a change to resources and then they saw their service go down, or maybe they didn't even change anything, but traffic increases, spike went up, and they saw an impact to their service when it comes to resources, they're not touching that workload or that namespace for months. I think the quote specifically was like, we're not touching that for 6 months, which is like sounds extreme, but is real because all of automation comes down to humans and how comfortable they are. And you can only move as fast as how comfortable those humans are. And we're seeing that every day when we talk to people. But even just that quote really just says like, okay, something bad happened to me. It's going to take me a while to believe that I can go make these changes without something bad happening again.
And thinking about, movements, next steps, based on the data that you've collected, the insights that you're extracting from it, what are the next steps that we can expect from CloudBolt?
There's quite a few learnings we're taking from the survey to add into the product of just, giving users more data points on what's going to happen, how they can really get more insights that we know our machine learning is looking at, but like the humans like to look at those things so that they can build confidence. This is something we've done from the very beginning because we've been doing AI ML since 2022, this version of the product, and before that others. So we always knew like we have to put in that level of comfort, whether it's guardrails around what the machine learning does or just guardrails in the automation and how and who can run it, when it doesn't run. But especially now with like all the different AI tools, on one hand, it's great because people are becoming more comfortable with these things. On the other hand, it's opening a lot more questions of like, okay, what would happen here? Can I trust it to do that? And so taking those pieces and building that into the platform. And the last thing, because in the survey results, I don't remember this statistic off the top of my head, but people are way more comfortable deploying like a CI/CD change to production. And I have to change my app and I'm going to deploy that than constraining a resource and maybe right sizing it down, for example. And I was really wondering, like, why are we okay deploying new code, but maybe we're less comfortable when it comes to right sizing? and this is not scientific, this is just my opinion, but I think it's because when it comes to deploying new code, we know what happens. We know what happens when it goes well. We know what happens when it doesn't go well. We have failback mechanisms. We deploy things in like a blue-green way. It's done so often that people know it's not that they trust when it's going to go right, it's that they know what's going to happen when it goes wrong. And I think that's on us too, as a right-sizing platform, to, yes, we're going to continue to build confidence in how we get it right, but really like what happens when it goes wrong? Everything's going to go wrong. It's infrastructure. Like we'd be naive to say it doesn't, but just building in those mechanisms to detect failures and respond quickly, to be able to roll back very quickly, have all those health checks. That's the type of stuff that even just last week we added a whole new set of health checks of things to detect in the cluster that if we detect those things, we can either roll back or we can go out and proactively address. So building confidence through knowing, okay, what happens to the system when something breaks.
And on the subject of VPA and adoption, anything you'd like to share about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think the same trust problem applies to the VPA, because at the end of the day, the VPA is right-sizing resources. I think there's a whole another category when you talk about using the VPA and the HPA that I think for this example is just think a static workload. Even that, if you're going to deploy a VPA recommendation, you want to know what's going to happen when it goes wrong. And to the same quote earlier of you can only move fast as you trust the system. Like people need to build a lot of guardrails into the VPA. So I think any really right-sizing solution or any automation solution that's making a change and constricting a resource versus just like a net new deployment needs to think through, how do I build trust with the humans that are using the system and just inherently in the system to be able to scale it out?
As much as we're talking about technical, challenges, the human problems that come along with it, like you said, in this case regarding trust, have a significant impact and continue to do so. What's next for you, Yasmin? What are you going to be working on next?
I've been talking to our UX designer about doing some research kind of beyond just this to really dig into with those platform engineers. There's another quote that was like, if I'm going to get paged at 2 a.m., like I'm going to do whatever is in my control to not get paged. And I'm less worried about the cost of that when it comes to like resource costs. I'm more worried about the cost of it for me personally. So kind of digging in and having follow-up conversations with those folks to really drive the next evolution of the product. That's what I'm most excited about.
And if people want to get in touch with you, what's the best way to do that?
Yeah, my email is yasmin@cloudbolt.io, yasmin@stormforge.io. I'm on LinkedIn, Yasmin Rajabi. My dream is to go by one name, but not there yet. So yeah, just reach out. Would love in the chat.
Fantastic. Thanks so much for your time today. We'll speak soon. Take care.
Thank you.